Carolina. And finally, Czechoslovakia, with the captain Jiří Stanko, Alex Drimmel, Václav Werner, Petr Ondrasik, and the reserve Tony Kasper. Well, there was a deluge over London last Sunday afternoon, which delayed the start of the final, but it eventually did get underway on a damp but drying surface. And after 4 heats, America led with 10 points. Denmark were on 5, as were West Germany, and Czechoslovakia had 4. Let's pick it up now for the 5th heat with Gary Newbon in the pits and commentary by Dave Lanning.
Heat 5, and the Danes, the holders, have slipped a long way back behind the Americans, so they bring in their young reserve Tommy Knudsen from Coventry, of course, the world number 3, number 20 on his back, and that's just his age as well. And there's the rest of the lineup. The whole American team really are getting behind their lads. You can see the whole bunch of them out on parade trying to encourage Kelly Moran. And Moran is the only American so far after 4 heats to have dropped a point, finishing 3rd in the opening race. But Kelly notoriously doesn't like it in the wet. Call him at Voyens last year in the World Individual Championship, going out when we had similar conditions. Gutsy little performer, though, and he'll be anxious to get in on the act as the Americans consolidate, or try to consolidate, their first ever World Cup final win. Of course, they have the reigning World Individual Champion Pennell and the reigning World Pairs Champions in Pennell and Bobby Schwartz. It would be a remarkable hat-trick for them after so limited experience in the top rank. When he really re-emerged in the World Speedway scene in the last 5 seasons. The full lineup for Heat 5: on the inside, Alex Drimmel from Czechoslovakia, 1 point, first time out. Next to him, it's Tommy Knudsen, the reserve from Denmark. And he'll be in the yellow and black helmet colour. Carl Mayer from West Germany, a 3rd, first time out, is in grid 3 in the blue helmet colour. It is a blue helmet, although it's difficult to discern. On the outside, Kelly Moran in red for the United States, who already have established a 5-point lead. And in a World Cup final, that's a lot after only 4 races. It's the sort of competition you must not finish last, and really the Americans only need to stonewall now, because the other nations are taking points off each other. Here we go, Heat 5. And, oh, there was a mix-up at the start. Moran has gone clear. In 2nd place, it is Mayer. And in 3rd place, it is Drimmel. And it was Knudsen, the Dane, who got the rough end of it. And it really isn't Denmark's day at all, because they're going to drop more points here. There's Knudsen in all kinds of trouble, and you can see the frustration there coming through as Moran stretches away. 2nd, Mayer. 3rd is Drimmel. But, well, the stars and stripes are really fluttering merrily. And Moran, looking back, has got a mile in hand. They're into the last lap. And really, the Californians are absolutely spread-eagling them. Moran taking it very gingerly around the corner, looking over the pits almost impudently. America win it. 2nd place, Czechoslovakia. Rather, 2nd place, Germany, and 3rd, Czechoslovakia. But really, it is getting to be a bit of a cakewalk for the Californians. Well, that really was a controversial start. And we have to look for what happens to Tommy Knudsen in grid 2 as they start. You can see it's Moran from the outside, and Drimmel comes across. And, well, did he make contact with Knudsen? Certainly, Knudsen was all over the place. Drimmel's out mid-track, and he started from grid 1. It's left the way clear for Kelly Moran, and little Kelly doesn't look those kind of gift horses awry. He moves in front, and Knudsen might well feel aggrieved by that little bit of tactics from the Czechoslovakian.
Well, Tommy, you brought all your team here because you're very upset, all of you, about that start. Let's show it to you and tell us what you think happened with Drimmel coming out of grid 1.
Yeah, Drimmel, he came right across on me. You know, I didn't have a chance. He came right across onto gate 2, and I got my foot caught behind the chain adjuster. I couldn't get it back out because he ran into my foot. And I just can't believe it, you know. The referee is so bad at the starts. Like in the 2nd race with Ollie, they got a flyer, and I just can't believe it that this is a world final, you know.
What would you like the referee to have done there, then?
Well, he should have restarted it, all 4 riders back to the line.
Well, the Americans are fast disappearing over the horizon here. They're on 13 points now. That's 6 clear of their next place nation. And a little surprisingly, that's West Germany on 7 points. with Denmark and Czechoslovakia on 5. So the Americans very happy at this stage. They've got Sean Moran, who won his first ride so impressively first time out. He's on the inside. Next to him, Yuri Stancel, big track specialist. And Yuri had a third place first time out with Reading Races, of course, in the British League. Erik Gundersen for Denmark, and the Danes really must start picking up some points soon if they're going to get back into contention. On the outside, the rather surprised merchants, West Germany, have George Hack. So here we go, he's 6. And again, it is America, although it is Gundersen who gets across, and that was a good first corner from Gundersen. Around the outside comes George Hack from West Germany, almost hangs himself on the fence, and Sean Moran is back in third place. And the Americans really caught a little napping complacently as Hack removes his visor as he goes under our commentary position. Took a long time doing it too, and almost allowed Moran to go through. Here's Gundersen, this is better for Denmark. Gundersen in front, second place. At the present moment is George Hack, third is Sean Moran, at the back is Yuri Stancel. This is Gundersen, 21-year-old.
1-2.
Former Danish junior champion, and the battle is really developing for the last place. And Stancel moves up to try and challenge Sean Moran. There's the leader, that's Erik Gundersen in complete control. Second place Hack, really going out almost on the fence. This may well be the spark to start a Danish revival. First Gundersen, Denmark. Second Hack, Germany. Third Moran, USA. And there's Gundersen. I wonder if the holders are really going to come back into contention. They certainly have had some resilience in the past. And the Danes obviously happy that the Germans got up into second place and stole points from the Americans there. Heat 7, and the Danes with the veteran Ollie Olsen on the inside. Czechoslovakia bring in 19-year-old reserve Antonin Kasper, European junior champion. West Germany have Egon Müller on the outside, Bobby Schwartz from the United States. America in the clear at the moment. Schwartz looks like he's already pointing towards the line as the tapes get ready to go for heat number 7. And away they go, and it is Schwartz from the outside, and there's a knock there with Müller, and coming tearing round it is Schwartz, who will not be deterred. Schwartz leads it. Second place is Olsen, third is Müller, and Kasper is at the back. But despite a tremendous knock as they ran up to the first corner, Bobby Schwartz will not be deterred. Olsen is being dropped, and Schwartz, who said that he was going to win this one for his teammate, and Müller's come around the outside, and it looks like Egon Müller is the only rider capable of using the dirt and getting around the outside. He did that in an earlier ride, taking second place, and he's moved up into second place quite comfortably, and the Americans will be pleased about that, although Schwartz can't hang around because Müller is a determined customer and has the motors and the aggression to get by, and Schwartz is aware that he has the West German on his tail and is stretching away. No complacency at all. 3 more points for the United States. Second, West Germany. Third, Olsen, not happy in the conditions clearly. And that one consolidates the Americans' lead. Schwartz really is turning out to be their anchor man. So the Americans at Heat 8 well clear on 17 points. They're 8 clear of their nearest rivals. The Americans well clear now. They're on 17 points, 6 clear of the surprise packet West Germans, who bring in their reserve, George Gilgenreiner, a Bavarian on the outside. Now then, we've got Václav Werner for Czechoslovakia, who had a second place first time out on the inside for the Czechs. Next to him, Hans Nielsen, who won his first ride. Bruce Pennell, a race winner first time out. And on the outside, George Gilgenreiner on his first outing, though he's a big track rider, scored 5 points for Germany. Oh, got a flyer there. As they all they were knocking and nudging and elbows were flying, and it's Nielsen who gets away. And where is Pennell? Pennell's been squeezed out. Werner's in second place, and that again was a very ragged start. It looked like Gilgenreiner got a knock, and so did Pennell. It's let Nielsen get clear, and the world individual champion, Bruce Pennell, is the one with all the work to do, because he's got Václav Werner, a tough, uncompromising character. with the Pool Pirates. Gives nothing away, and he's got Pennell right on his tail. I think Pennell's going to move through into second place. Just overcooked the corner. And once again, Werner really chopped across. And I think Nielsen is slowing up to try and help Werner, but Pennell will not be stopped. He's round the outside. And here comes Pennell after Nielsen. And this is a little bit more like it. Into the last lap, 385 metres, and Pennell and Nielsen almost locked together and collided. Nielsen seemed to shut off and going into the corner. Now he's back in command. Here comes Pennell again, and he really is taking tremendous risks. The world individual champion just left his effort too late. A win for Denmark, second United States, third was Werner. He really did get in the way of Pennell there and held him back. And that puts Denmark back with 3 points and breathes new life into their challenge.
So after 8 heats, the score was 10. And for World of Sport at London's White City, we have Gary Newbon in the pits, and our commentator is Dave Lanning.
And the Californians who came here to win have shown absolutely not a weak point, and no let-up in resolve. Still, this one might well prove to be interesting. We have got on the inside Hans Nielsen, who has been Denmark's, or one of Denmark's most successful practitioners. He has 2 wins to his credit, 6 points. Egon Müller has been the best from the back by no exaggeration. He's come from last to second a couple of times. Alice Drimmel has 2 third places, and Sean Moran has a win and a third to his credit. He's on the outside. So we should have some action and maybe some passing and bypassing and repassing here in heat number 10. Inside then Nielsen, Denmark. Next to him Müller, West Germany. Grid 3, Drimmel, Czechoslovakia. Outside, Sean Moran, United States. And there's some terrible trouble. Down has gone Nielsen, and down too has gone Müller. And that was not a healthy one. There is Müller, and Nielsen is down still. And on his knees, Müller is back on his feet, but none too happy, we can see. And Hans Nielsen is still down. You can see Hans Nielsen, the only Dane in the world final. And the Danish camp, there's anxiety. I can see Ollie Olsen tearing across the centre green. A real tangle at the start, and we've had some ragged starts, and maybe that's the ultimate has happened. There's Ollie Olsen looking over anxiously. Let's have a look at that start again. Now just watch the 2 on the inside. As the tapes go, you can see Nielsen appear to be burning coal. Away they go, and Nielsen snakes across, and Nielsen comes right across to mid-track and picks up Egon Müller. And there was nowhere to go but in trouble for the pair of them. And they both seem to be heading for the grass there. Nielsen goes over the wrong way, very awkwardly indeed. Müller, well, he's in all kinds of trouble. Somehow manages to avoid Hans Nielsen. The bike somersaults and cartwheels. And Nielsen goes down very, very awkwardly, but it must be said it looked as it was his own fault. Well, there is Nielsen getting a lift back to the pits. The referee, John Whitaker, has decided that there was nobody clearly to blame for the incident. And all 4 go back in. And there is Nielsen, and it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be fit enough to take his place in the restart. So despite that bruising fall, Hans Nielsen comes back into the restart on his number 2 machine. It's a Godden made by Don Godden, of course, down there in Kent. He is their number 1 works rider, so he'll be equally at home on either machine. But it must be said that he's a tough boy to pick himself up from that one. So too is Egon Müller. It's going to be interesting to see how they peel themselves off up to the first corner this time in the restart. Nielsen then on the inside, yellow and black. Next to him, Egon Müller in the blue helmet colour. In grid 3, Alice Drimmel in the white helmet colour. On the outside, Sean Moran in red. So America, we remind you, still a long way clear. They're on 22 points. Denmark are on 13. Here we go for the restart of 8:10. And again, Nielsen has moved across the mid-track, and he's made a flying start. Moran's in second place, trying the outside run, and Moran just hasn't got enough steam. Almost picked up the fence himself, lets Drimmel through. But it is Nielsen in front, second, still Drimmel. Sean Moran, despite that gut-busting effort to run the first two corners, back in third place. And really, you have to admire Hans Nielsen. He really is an uncompromising character, and many people fancy he could be a menace in the World Individual Final. There's a battle for second place. It is Drimmel in second place, and Moran under some pressure from Egon Müller. And remarkably, out of the melee, it is Müller who seems to have taken the biggest knock. Certainly not as impressive as at his early rides. There's the leader, but the real battle is for the last point, with Sean Moran under pressure from Müller, and Moran almost tangled together. You can see it for yourself. Nielsen is going to win it by a mile for Denmark. Second place, Drimmel, and Sean Moran just holding on for the United States. There is Hans Nielsen. Well, who could discount this character in the World Individual Championship? To pick himself up like that from that alarming prang and win it with such ease, well, it takes a very special kind of man and a very special kind of courage.
Well, Hans Nielsen, what happened with the first start where you had the crash with Egon Müller?
Well, I think I was moving a little bit towards the outside where Müller was, and of course I rear a bit, and as I go out a bit, Müller moves inwards, and we hit together, bang.
Because you were chasing the grip and you moved out, do you think you're a little lucky not to get excluded there, Hans?
No, I don't think so, because Müller was also moving in towards me, so I think it was both faults, really.
Heat 11, let's have a look at the lineup. On the inside, George Hack, Germany. Next to him, Václav Werner, Czechoslovakia. Bobby Schwartz, who has been the anchor man of the Americans in grid 3 in red, and on the outside, Preben Eriksson from Denmark. Every time the Danes have looked like coming back, it's been Schwartz who has come out and won a race. Let's see if he can do it again here in Heat 11. Oh, he's got a flyer. An absolute flyer from the start, and there's trouble into the first corner. Hack almost picked up, and Hack still in trouble. Schwartz peels off in front. Eriksson second. Third is Václav Werner, and we are having some fun and games out there. Still the battle going on for the last place point, and again, oh, Hack has gone down. He had to happen. It had to happen. He was out there hanging himself up on the fence. He almost did it first time round. Somehow or other he's got up. They really are made of whiplash, these boys. Look at him. Oh. Well, they say they are big track riders, these West Germans, but they're certainly running out of room here at White City. Here is Schwartz. This is the second lap. In second place, it's Eriksson. And watch for Hack. He's trying to get around the outside of Václav Werner. He goes right out, grabbing throttle by the handful. He's right out on the fence. He just missed it around about here, but no such luck this time. Down he goes, over. Well, that's more suited to gymnastics. The bike manages to miss him, and straight away he's up, proving once again that these Speedway... Look, the bike's almost got a mind of its own there. But up gets George Hack, shaken if not stirred. Heat 11 without George Hack. On the inside, Václav Werner. Next to him, in the red helmet colour, Bobby Schwartz, and Preben Eriksson from Denmark on the outside. Three only then, the Americans well clear at the moment on 23 points. Denmark on 16. And once again, it's from the outside, and it is Schwartz who shows. Second place is Eriksson, and Schwartz has swung one, and Eriksson trying to strive to find the power. But Bobby Schwartz just needs to have that little bit of extra in reserve every time it's needed. And he's in front. He is unbeaten so far, and he's kicking on for home now in Heat 11. Well, Bobby's lost his helmet colour, but, well, when you're sniffing fresh air, the only colours on his mind is a checkered flag at the end of this race. Such an important meeting for Boogaloo. So broken up about the death of his great chum, Kenny Pyatt, came into the team as a replacement for Dennis Sigalos. What a replacement he's turning out to be. Leading heat number 11. Second place Eriksson, third is Werner. But unless something untoward happens, there's going to be no change in that order. And Schwartz again has consolidated America just when it looked like a Danish revival might start. He wins it. Second place Denmark, third Czechoslovakia. And Boogaloo undeterred by restarts, by incidents, by drama, picks up his third consecutive race win. This is Eric Gundersen, of course, teammate of Bruce Pennell at the British League champions Cradley Heath. And the Danes, well, they've perked up once or twice, but each time the Americans seem to have just jumped on them and not allowed them any real threat at all. Heat 12, Pennell will be on the outside, the most fruitful starting grid so far. On the inside, Gundersen, Denmark. Next to him, Karl Mayer, West Germany. Grid 3 has Ondrasik of Czechoslovakia. And on the outside, Bruce Pennell, with the Americans on 26 points. Let's watch the start, because some of these starts have been controversial, to say the least. That's a better one. Although once again, Gundersen's moved out, and Pennell has just got to the corner in front of him. Pennell leads it. Gundersen is second. In third place, slipping through, is Karl Mayer for Czechoslovakia, rather for West Germany. But Pennell and Gundersen, teammates, great chance, are battling away up front. Here is Pennell, Bruce Lee Pennell, world individual champion. Again, it looks like America. The Americans, of course, have never won this title. They were second. Rather, this is their second final, and they were second last year in 1980. England have a pretty good record in this, really. They last won it in 1980, won it 4 times on the trot back in the 70s. The country, incidentally, with the best record in the World Team Cup finals are the Swedes. They've won it 6 times in 18 outings, but that was all in the early days. Going over the line now, Pennell for America. Second was Gundersen, Denmark. Third in blue was Karl Mayer, and that means by our calculations the Americans need only 4 points from the remaining 4 heats to ensure their first ever win in a World Team Cup final. Heat 13, it could be the lucky one for the Americans, because they could win the World Team Cup here. On the inside, Preben Eriksson, Denmark, and he must win this race to keep Denmark in with an academic chance of retaining the trophy. Next to him, the West German reserve, George Gilgenreiner. Grid 3, Sean Moran, who could bring home the World Cup for the Statesiders, and on the outside, the Czechs bring in their reserve. That's Tony Kasper in the white helmet colour. Heat 13, and the World Cup could be won in the next 70 seconds. Here we go, and it's Gilgenreiner, the German. That's a surprise. He shows in front. In second place, Eriksson, although here comes Moran, keeping it all screwed on around the outside, trying to follow him through Kasper, not finding the gap. So it's Moran in front, and the Americans are beginning to celebrate. There's Sean Moran, second place, Eriksson. That's not good enough for the Danes. In third place, it's Gilgenreiner. Ding-dong going on to the on point at the back there, with Kasper again almost brushing the fence. But Moran is in front, and the Americans are on their way to glory. They came here to win for their fallen colleague, Denny Fyatt. They swore they would win the trophy for him. They're going to dedicate the World Cup to his memory. They've never really looked in any doubt, apart from a little stutter right at the start of the show. But Sean Moran going away comfortable as you please. He's coming around into the last lap. The Americans at the pits getting ready to celebrate. Just 385 metres to glory for America. Sean Moran in no trouble at all, and the showmanship begins, the wheelies begin. The Americans are on their way to a remarkable hat-trick, and what characters, what colour they've brought into World Speedway. They thoroughly deserve this success. Over the line they go, and now the celebrations will begin really from John O'Groats all the way down to Sacramento. Wherever there's American Speedway fans, they'll be celebrating this moment.
So America justifying their favouritism with early victory. Need the score at the end of the final. America the winners of the World Team Cup for the first time with 37 points. Denmark well down in second place with 24. Third were West Germany with 18, and Czechoslovakia gained 17. And after that...
They tell me I'm insane. They tell me I'm insane. Tell me there's no hope left to dream. I know I won't survive. They tell me that's what's causing all of this pain.
with the old, in with the new. A new era starts at Birmingham. But before we talk about that, we should take the time to acknowledge the debt we owe to Tony Mole. Without him, there would be no Birmingham Speedway. It's as simple as that. And the same can be said for many other tracks as well. I don't think Speedway will ever see his like again. And thank you also goes to Graham and Denise for so many great memories. But time waits for no man. And it's now time to look forward to a new era, a new adventure. So a big, big welcome to David Mason, who we shall talk to in a few moments. Only at Birmingham Speedway. Good evening and welcome to the Speedway Tavern. I'm sounding like David Frost here. I don't like that. David Frost. I've thrown myself. So, good evening. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. We have tonight Chris Brown.
Good evening.
And Matt Buck.
Good evening.
And myself, GA. Yeah, a new era starts.
New exciting era, we hope.
Well, we hope it's exciting. I'm sure it will. Well, it is exciting at this moment because, by its very definition, was it my life? They drew it out yesterday, didn't they? Announcing who it was. The tension in the stadium. Yeah, I know. Well, we will see what happens now. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to speak to David later in about 15 minutes or so.
Suggestions earlier about names that could have been suggested, which we would probably had people thrown at stadium.
Yeah, we were. Yeah. Wasn't I thought that was wonderful actually, the way that they did that last night. You know, saying the announcements. So will Sam Malenko go to the pits, please? And you know, I did suggest to Ryan that he did announce Alan Phillips go to the pits, but maybe he wouldn't have survived the rest of the night, so maybe it was a good idea that he didn't do that.
Grand Roy's last act at Birmingham would have been the frog march you upstairs.
Would have been interesting. Yeah, so we're going to be talking to David in about 15 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, there are lots and lots of ways that you can participate. And if I can get Webby to look up, he'll tell you.
I'm getting things ready.
Okay.
I'm getting organised. I'm actually
sorry,
putting the right mic on now for Matt.
You mean that you didn't have the right mic?
No, I put the right one. Yeah. I think I've got the right one there.
Oh dear, he doesn't like you.
What was the question?
How they can participate?
Okay, yeah, you can go on to www.srbradio.com and you can join in there on the chat, or you can join in on numerous Facebook pages, including this one, UK Speedway Tavern, Birmingham Speedway, Speedway Friends and Riders, National Speedway, Alive-O.
So, did you realise that you did a Ted Lowe moment there?
Do you know what's a Ted Lowe moment?
Ted Lowe moment was when he was commentating on the snooker, and he said, "For those of you watching in black and white, it's next to the blue ball." And you just said, "You can participate on this one."
Yes.
Yeah, well, that is true. That is true. So yeah, I couldn't let you get away with that.
What an idiot I am.
Right, so before we chat about the new owners, and as I say, we're going to talk to David, we were so excited about this at the beginning of the season. The relegation promotion battle, we thought they've made the two leagues closer together, and you know, there's a chance here. You know, your bottom club's going to have no confidence, and your top club in the championship's going to be full of. Oh dear.
Oh dear, yeah, exactly. It was. That wasn't good for Speedway.
No, it wasn't a good. No, it wasn't at all.
But Leicester, credit to Leicester, they performed really well.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously were strengthened at reserve. They were clearly, even with the fact that they brought the two leagues together, there is still clearly a big gulf in class. It was disappointing. It's disappointing as well that, you know, there's been such negativity towards the Sheffield promotion about it, which is a shame because they've had such a great season.
That's not right. That's just not right. I mean, if you could elucidate for our viewer what has been said.
Well, all sorts of stuff, and then people saying it was a fix and things like that, and suggesting, of course, that the fact that both Sheffield and Leicester have got the same promotion, that there was things going on which weren't really.
You would have to say, if it was a fix, they would have done a much better job of it than that, wouldn't they?
I think so.
You know, they would have kept it. I mean, it is surely in Leicester's interests for the match still to be live, if you like, in the second leg for their home crowd, for bums and seats, to have more Sheffield supporters there paying.
Well,
so they would have done a better job.
Well, it's not very good planning by Leicester because Leicester play West Brom on the Monday night as well, so that's going to knock a few off the crowd.
Yeah.
Right. So it's something that could have been a good opportunity, but looks like it's been wasted a little bit. Especially. You listen to some people, and there's people suggesting that Sheffield may well be coming up anyway, which sort of defeats the object of having the meeting in the first place. So,
well, let's see if they're accepted. Of course, even if they want to, maybe they won't be accepted. You don't know what am I talking about? They'll take their hands off. I'll bite their hands off.
Well, they've been trying for years to get Sheffield to go up, and they haven't done it yet. So,
that's going to be interesting. I mean, do they persevere with the promotion relegation?
It's been tried several times now, and it hasn't. I think the last team to officially get relegated was Swindon. And
did they not get relegated? They said no, didn't they?
No, they did. They did get relegated. Okay. Yeah, they got about 92. I wish they got relegated this season, but that's another story. Only joking, Swindon fans.
Sour grapes.
It's sour grapes. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I'll get over it in about 30 years. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah, it's a shame. As I say, it's been tried before. Obviously, we had it in 2008 when we rode against Edinburgh. Had an awful season, and then went into Edinburgh and ran right, basically. So, I don't really know what the answer is to that, to be honest. I think the idea of promotion and relegation, in theory, is good. But with so many riders riding for the same teams, you're going to get fixture clashes. I think they did well on BT, not mentioning the fact that Josh Bates was missing for Leicester because he was riding with Sheffield.
For Sheffield, yes.
Unfortunately, Josh Bates himself let the cat at the bag by saying he did an interview, but
well, Speedway riders, eh? Hello.
And on the chat box on the SRB radio one. Tomo says, "Hi guys, come on, let's have a positive tavern and look forward to the future."
Oh, there's going to be lots of that tonight. Don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. There'll be lots of that tonight. Anything else on the shout box there?
Yeah, Mark says hello to Ben, and Ben says hello to Mark.
Okay, I thought we might just say that Stan said, well done, well said, GI. Just, a little bit of praise, a bit of positivity coming out here.
I thought that was you put that on.
I think that was 6 days ago.
Yeah, okay.
No, it was.
Oh, it was 6 days ago.
I've heard of milking a praise, but you know what I mean. You're going to use that one every week now.
Oh, too right. Yeah, that's the first thing I'm going to talk about when we start in the new season. Yeah. So anyway, that's a shame. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, actually, I do know what the answer is, but they won't do it. There is only one answer, and that's to say, right, all riders have one set of averages. Both leagues build to the same average.
Is that not what they had this season?
No, it wasn't one set of averages, was it? Yeah, they multiplied it by 1.5 or something.
That's well, they did that with the riders that rode in only the older league in 2016. I think.
Hello. Yeah, but they didn't build to the same average.
Didn't build to the same average, no. Which is a fair point.
Stand by your beds. Nigel Pearson. All promoters voted the promotion relegation in at the AGM. Good luck to David and Peter. First time I've seen this feed. Keep up the good work, lads.
Oh, thank you very much.
Talking about
Nigel.
me and Matt, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much, Nigel. I think it's a great idea. I think it creates interest. It created interest. We was talking about it right from the beginning of the season that we was looking forward to it. But they've got to make the league closer.
They didn't get off to the best of starts, unfortunately.
No. And I guess the thing to say is just because it didn't work this year doesn't mean it doesn't work next year or the year after. I think they've got to persevere with it. To make it work, they've got to persevere with it.
This has been one of the things with the BSBA is that things haven't worked the first time, and they've just quietly dropped the idea.
And maybe
they need to let something grow. Just there's a few teething problems. Just sit down, sort it out. Sit down, see what can be done, and have another go next year.
Yeah, and I think they should do something that you very rarely see the BSBA do, and be honest about it and say, yeah, it didn't work this year, but it's a thing in progress.
Yeah.
So next year we're going to work to make it better and bring the teams closer together next year, and we'll keep doing that until we get it right. I think fans would respect that.
I think so.
Well, a lot of fans, maybe it's not some of the ones that said silly remarks
thing.
to Sheffield and Leicester. Hello.
John Bourne wants to know, you mentioned GA. Are you the same GA from STS?
I am the same GA that used to play STS, yes.
There you
go.
Small world.
It's a Speedway world.
Yep.
Is what it is.
What, do you owe money, do you?
I thought it was one of those leather magazine type thing. Oh, no, sorry, that's the other one. Isn't it?
That's the one you've got down there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh,
right, so, well, let's hope they do persevere with it. It's good for Speedway. When they get it right, that will be good for Speedway. You don't necessarily have to see somebody relegated or somebody promoted, just a good, it to be a competition.
That's right.
But it was a shame, and of course it will affect the gator, you would imagine.
I think it's almost certainly going to affect the gag, because I don't think many Sheffield fans are going to go to Leicester with a 29 point deficit.
Talking of Sheffield, we need to have a look at updates at some point, because they've got quite an important match going on tonight.
Yes, they have in the cup.
Knockout Cups is the second leg, is it?
No, first leg.
First leg.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll have a look at that in a moment as well. Wolverhampton.
Mm-hmm.
What's been happening over
there? Before I go any further, a chap called Bill who works on the track shop at Wolves, and I think has occasionally done the track shop at Birmingham as well, filled in for holidays. Sadly was taken ill over the weekend in Prague. He's not very well at the moment, so send best his wishes to Bill up for a speedy recovery. He's a proper Speedway fan as well. He goes to a lot of Speedway matches all over the country all the way through the year, so get well soon, Bill. Yes. Knockout Cup final, of course, looking to try and end the season on a positive after the disappointment of missing out in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
10-point lead in the first leg of the final against Bellevue. Probably should have been more, to be honest. Bellevue with 2-5-1s in the last 3 races to pull it back to 10 points.
That's happened to Wolverhampton too many times this season.
It has happened, yeah. I thought it was going to be wild 1 point. We've lost that many meetings wild 1 point this season. But there was some good racing. The crowd, I have to say, was a bit disappointing. I think it's fair to say the Knockout Cup hasn't really got the sort of attraction that it had many years ago.
That's a shame. I don't know why.
It is a shame. I mean, I remember.
It's a trophy, for goodness sake.
It's a piece of silverware at the end of the day. So, I mean, I remember when we rode in the Knockout Cup final in '96, and we had to ride the first leg at Long Eaton because Mon Moorgreen was unavailable, and the place was absolutely packed solid. It's a shame that it hasn't got that now. But on really 10-point lead, it's not a massive lead. It's certainly a lead that Bellevue, I think, are going to feel confident that they can catch.
But it's at least it's something to defend.
It's something to defend, of course, absolutely.
And you never know.
So obviously it was a drastically changed Wolves team with, of course, all the injuries. Obviously now Carl Howarth and Rory Schlein missing as well. So best wishes to them, and hopefully for a speedy recovery. And we'll
sounds like Birmingham in 2008, doesn't it?
I've never known a run like it. Really, just over the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, he's absolutely just ludicrous, the number of injuries. But I guess it happens. It's just one of those freakish runs, unfortunately. But Ricky Wells, obviously still a Wolves asset. He rode terrific. Had I think 4 race wins.
Right.
Scott Nichols did a bit better than he did at Sheffield the previous night, but in fairness, I think Monmore is a track that suits him a little bit more than Sheffield did at this stage of his career. But yeah, obviously a 10-point lead. As I say, not a big lead. It's defendable, But Bellevue, I think Bellevue will certainly feel confident that they can pull that lead back on Monday. Of course, it was tended to be run last night, but unfortunately the weather intervened. So
Yes.
yeah, so still a chance of Wolves ending up with a bit of silverware in 2017, which would be.
I think a 10-point lead makes it. It's on the cusp, isn't it? It's one that you could defend if the things go your way. It's going to make it for an interesting match.
I mean, it's good that it's obviously been billed as a grudge match, because obviously there's been a few words said between Wolves and Bellevue fans over the last couple of years.
How was that on the terraces?
Well, there were plenty of Bellevue fans there, and they were their usual noisy self. But it was, it's fairness, it's good banter. It didn't step over the line like it did at Bellevue a couple of weeks ago, unfortunately. So.
Well, that's good, because a bit of banter makes a bit of excitement.
I don't think there's nothing whatsoever wrong with a little bit of needle on the terraces. I think that sort of adds to it a little bit, as long as he doesn't step over the line and turn into violence or stupid behaviour. You want a good atmosphere at Speedway meetings. I've said before, one of the big problems I've got with Speedway in the last few years is the fact that there's seems so little atmosphere on the terraces. It's always flat. There's far too many long delays, which often are unnecessary, and there's nobody really. Sometimes there's no. I think was it the Stoke match you went to where there was a really long delay and nobody was giving any explanations.
No explanation, no nothing. It's dead time. There's too much dead time.
Yeah, you got to try and get the crowd involved, and I mean Porky obviously does his bit. Porky's one of those Marmite characters. Really, I think people either love him or hate him, but I mean he does try and at least generate an atmosphere and has good banter with the away fans. But he's always, in fairness to him, he always says he always says well done on supporting the team and have a safe trip back home. So it's you want that sort of thing in Speedway. You want a better atmosphere. I've been in meetings at Monmore Green and other tracks where the atmosphere's been fantastic over the years. And it helps. I think it helps the riders as well. If there's a good atmosphere, I think they feed off it.
Of course they do. Of course they do. Absolutely. Yeah. So we've been promising all day that we're going to be speaking to David Mason, but we're having a few technical difficulties at the moment, which we're trying to iron them out. So we will keep at it. Right. So. I was going to have a look at the Sheffield-Ipswich match, but we haven't got that yet. So another full of technical difficulties today. Let's talk about last night's match. It's a good match, wasn't it?
It was a terrific meeting. It was. You can see the difference in quality really with the National League and the better quality of riders. That's not being disrespectful to the National League. We had some terrific battles between Martin Smolinski and Ben Barkin, didn't we? Yeah, the last race was. You can't tell me that neither of them were trying.
Absolutely,
holding themselves in because of the challenge meeting. But no, it was a good meeting. It was a good crowd. Coventry were always going to bring quite a lot because they're obviously been well supported this year, and good to see still a lot of Coventry fans there supporting the team after the really tough year that they've had of not having any regular racing. But it was a fitting send off, I think, for Tony, Graham, and Denise.
You got to say hats off to Graham Drury for getting it right with the team strength there.
I think I think they got it right. To be honest, it was a good mixture, I think.
Because I'd seen a few reports on our old friend the BSF saying that Birmingham were going to run away with it because because apart from Martin Smolinski, that. I was saying that there was nobody, but when I looked at it and I thought, well, that's not true, and so it proved. And last heat decider, always nice. Paul Stark really impressed me.
Paul Stark has really developed as a rider in the last 2 or 3 years, hasn't he? He's become a very, very good rider. Whether he'll go much further in the sport is obviously a question for another day, but. I don't think
he's a good, solid rider.
He's a very good, reliable rider. He's a good 7 out of 10 rider for me, and that's the sort of rider you want in your team.
And in the end, he won the meeting for us with that swoop round the outside of Martin Smolinski. I mean, in the last heat, Martin Smolinski seems to have moved on a bit. I thought as well. he's not all about the inside anymore. He was
Using the wide
outside
line, yeah.
runs and took.
Yeah, I think riding in the JPs has probably helped him in that respect as well.
I think so. So that
But
was good.
no, he's done well. Go another long interview, of course, at the start of the meeting. But that's Martin Smolinski for you.
Yeah.
But he's a great character, isn't he, Martin? He's the sort of rider you want in the team, to be
Yeah,
honest.
absolutely. Sheffield 20, Ipswich 16.
Ben Barker 6 from 2, Danny King 5 from 2. Sorry.
So that's Sheffield will be disappointed to be only 4 points ahead.
Still a long way to go, but
that's it. Yeah, interesting. So what we're having a bit of trouble getting hold of.
It's not
David.
picking up at the moment, so I've left a message. I'm sure he'll
Okay,
get back to us in a bit.
So he's obviously.
you did tell him we were phoning.
I did tell him we was phoning. He was quite happy about it, but he's probably having a bath or something.
I'm guessing he's busy at the moment.
He probably is quite busy.
I'm
at the
guessing
moment,
he is,
isn't
yeah.
He probably is quite busy at the moment, but we will.
He's probably trying to think, how am I going to afford that GI's wages?
They're paying me.
You weren't supposed to tell him that.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you that.
So, and we've had a few questions for David put up on the shout box and some. Hopefully, we will get hold of him. So, carry on putting those questions up, and we will ask them. Right. So, where are we going to go from here?
You just mentioned, I'll probably missed that, about the crowd last night. Was it a good crowd?
It was a good crowd.
Was it
a good crowd,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
a good crowd.
Best crowd of the
That's good.
season, I would say.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
well, okay.
And
So he had a
best-
good send-off.
and
then.
I think-
Good send-off.
Great send.
Yeah.
It was great. I loved the. Will Sam Ermolenko please go to the pits moments and the playing with the crowd to they did draw that out a bit, didn't they?
Yeah.
Was it tearful, do you think, or what? Or?
Well, I'm just talking about the introduction of the new
Yeah,
owner.
yeah.
They
Oh,
really
right, okay.
drew it out, even
Yeah.
to the point of when they came round on the motorbike
You
and then sent him round again. I thought, come on.
Well, as if like some blokes come round on a motorbike, but I'm pretty sure the owner will be here in a bit.
Yeah. And I know people don't believe, but Ryan Guest truthfully did not know who it was.
Oh.
He had no idea, and I tried I tried very hard on the track yesterday to say, "Come on, Ryan, who is it? Who is it?" And it was just, I don't know. I really don't know. And I could tell when David came round with the hat on the way Ryan was going, and the recognition all of a sudden when he recognised his eyes, because he's got quite distinctive eyes.
Yeah.
David Mason. So he didn't know. So that was interesting to hear all the comments on the BSF before about who they thought it was going to be. And even some people saying it definitely is going to be. You could name anybody.
I think we were talking about this last week, weren't we? I think we probably could have been sitting here for the last week and we wouldn't have got who it was. So
Did anybody on the BSF get it right?
No, not at all.
No.
Nobody anywhere got this. So, well done. They certainly know how to keep a secret. They didn't even tell the Speedway Star, so it won't be in today's
Yeah.
Speedway Star. So that's shows they know how things get around, don't they?
Lee Morris tells us that there's an Ivan Marja auction at Stafford Showground
this
Yeah.
weekend.
This
Yes, there
weekend,
is.
yeah.
It's a shame that because he's not very well, is he?
yes,
He's
that's
not-
Eddie Ivan's in quite a bad way now,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's been ill for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah. I think is it Alzheimer's? Have I got that right?
I think it is some form of dementia. I think. So
Yeah.
I think obviously everybody wishes Ivan,
Mm.
Ivan and his family, of course, all the best. So
Yeah, I mean, he was there for at Birmingham for
On
the
the
very
opening
first
night,
night,
yeah.
on the opening night, and he stood next to me on the track and was chatting away to me
Yeah.
for 5 or 10 minutes, and I felt so good out.
my dad was stood by the tapes by him and broke them first before Ivan did. So that's another claim to fame for me, Dad. So.
Well, I always remember actually that, when he was in his pump, when he came to Birmingham, racing. I think it might have been for Hull.
It would have been towards the end of his career.
Yeah. And he broke the tapes at the start.
Yeah.
And everybody's, as you can imagine, yay, we're going to beat Ivan Major, he's broke the tapes. he got onto the phone, and the next thing we know, Ivan Major's been reinstated.
Yeah.
And he'd noticed, this is how clever and quick the bloke was, he'd noticed that the tapes hadn't been tied at the end with some rubber. They're supposed to be tied to some rubber at the end, and they hadn't been. So he went to the referee and said, "You can't exclude me. The tapes weren't correctly tied," and got reinstated. So he got a few boos, but hey ho.
A question for Matt. Who would you retain for Wolves this season, and who would you look to bring in?
Good question.
I think a lot of it depends on the structure. I don't think there's Premiership, Championship, National League. That's not going to change, obviously.
You sure about that?
Well, it's famous last words. I think a lot's going to depend on the fitness of riders. I mean, there was good to see that footage of Freddie starting his rehabilitation up in Manchester.
I was about to ask you about that.
And Jakob Dorsel obviously had his operation this week, which went well apparently. So whether they'll be back for the start of the season or
will they be back at all?
Well, the most important thing obviously is they get well as soon as possible. I mean, Peter Adams said that they're both facing a months of rehabilitation rather than weeks. If it's one night a week or 2 nights a week, fixed race nights, maybe there's a possibility of Toll Woofington coming back to Wolves. I think that would be good. He's obviously been quite vocal in saying that he felt he should have been allowed to ride in the playoffs.
Well, what do you feel about that? Should he have been allowed?
I can see from both sides, to be honest. Yeah, I can see understand why people would say, "Well, hang on a minute, you haven't ridden here all year. Now you want to just come here for the glory." But at the same time, you can also say it would have been better than having a guest from another club. And I think it's fair to say that Toll would have done a bit better than Bomber did, to be honest. But
yes.
I'd like to see Carl Howarth back at Wolves. I think he's been my rider of the season this year. It's difficult when you've had a season like we have, when you've had so many good performers, to pick a rider of the year often. But I think he's for me the standout.
So possibly an unfair question, but maybe an easier question to answer. Who wouldn't you have back?
I've got a feeling Sam Masters won't be back.
That's not the. I mean, I think you would have him back in a shot, wouldn't you? He's been.
I'm not so sure, to be honest. I don't know how much further Sam can go as a rider. He's had a good season. He's obviously had his injury, and it's sort of taken him a little bit of time to sort of get back to the sort of form he was showing before he got injured. Mark Riss, not sure. I think he's still got quite a bit to learn. He's cost a lot of points, especially in the playoffs through falls. Falls of where he was not really under any pressure either, to be honest. I'd like to see Nathan Graves back. I think he's done terrifically well. If we can get him at number 7, I wouldn't have him as the first reserve. I'd have
What
him
would
as
his
the
average
second.
be?
I don't think it would be a rolling average. I think over the course of the season, it wouldn't be because he had a disappointing start. But the last few weeks, I think he's ridden terrifically. He was terrific against Swindon in the second leg of the playoff final. Rory Schlein, not sure Rory will be back, to be honest. He's done well, steady middle order man, but I think it's going to be influenced by the fact that we don't own his contract. So yeah, in fairness, I mean, really since CVS and Peter Adams have been at Wolves, they've always been very loyal and haven't liked to make too many changes to the team over the course of several seasons, because they do like continuity. So you may see, I think, 2 or 3 new faces in the team, possibly. Freddie Lingard, I'd like to say Freddie, Jakob, Nathan Greaves, Carl Howarth. They're the 4 that I would like to see back at the club.
Quite a gamble to go with Freddie and Jakob after the injuries that I had. I mean, just being pragmatic now.
Well, it would be a gamble, yeah. I mean, probably more so in the case of Freddie, because he's sort of getting towards the mid-30s now.
Yeah.
Jakob's obviously still young, so he's young enough to bounce back from an injury like that, I think. But I don't envisage massive amounts of changes in the Wolves team, to be honest. There will be a little bit of tweaking here and there. So I think the number 1 spot's probably going to be the one that's got the biggest debate in it, because I think that's purely going to be based on whether Freddie's going to be fit to ride next year. So I wouldn't be too surprised if Toll Woofington's back at Wolves next year, especially if it's fixed race nights.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Yep. which means I'll probably be totally wrong. But
Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about the GP. I'm going to say something quite contentious. Well, I think maybe you won't think it's contentious. You might agree with me. I was watching the GP and Nigel Pearson. I hope Nigel's still listening because I'm going to disagree with Nigel Pearson now. He said something along the lines of, I can't remember which race it was, but Jason Doyle was going down the back straight on the outside of another rider who was getting closer and closer to the fence, and Jason Doyle shut off and let him go there. And Nigel Pearson said that was clever racing because, you know, he's looking towards the World Championship, etc., etc., etc. I disagreed with him. I thought from that moment on, every rider that came out to race against Jason knew if they put the bike towards him, he's going to shut off. And that happened a couple of times after that. Your thoughts?
I think a lot of riders probably would have felt that anyway before the meeting.
But don't necessarily prove it for them.
That's it. I mean, in fairness to Jason, he's got to have two average GPs, and he's won it.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's going to win it.
He's going to win it. There's no doubt about it. It's probably, you know, going to be a bigger coup for him, the fact that he's going to win it in front of his home fans in Melbourne. But no, I mean, I thought he was maybe a little bit cagey, not tentative. That's probably a bit too extreme to say, but wasn't going to take any.
I think he was. I think
silly.
He was tentative.
Wasn't going to take. Well, he's not going to take any silly little risks, is he? Because he's especially bearing in mind what happened last year on the same track.
I just felt it was such a reaction, such a you know, I mean, he lost such a lot of ground. Really, it was like, I'm not going there. Sort of reaction.
I'm not so sure somebody like Jason Crump or Nicky Pedersen would have shut off in that position, to be honest.
Certainly Nicky
Pedersen
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Jason might have, but he'd have done it perhaps a little bit more subtly. I think that's what you know, it was such a noticeable thing. I think it sort of, everybody was throwing their bike towards him from that point onwards. Mike Phillips has said, surprised at David and Paul's entry, delighted to think Birmingham will be continuing into 2018. Well done, guys. So what we're going to do with that now is that I'm going to send Chris off to have one last go and see if we can get hold of David Mason. If we can't, I can only apologise, but we'll give it a go anyway. It will be a great way for him to win it though at Melbourne. You just hope he doesn't get injured in the first race or something stupid, you know.
Well, he got injured there the last time he rode, didn't he? So there's that little thing of it's just getting over the.
It's 8 points he's got to score, isn't it? If I remember right.
I think it's 8 points. It's effectively a pre-interval, isn't it? If he wins 2 races, wins his first 2 races before the interval, then he's world champion.
Yeah.
So.
A lot depends on. I mean, if the other guy drops points, Dudek, if he drops points, then obviously that
diminishes.
An easier target. I hope he does it. I think.
I don't think anybody would begrudge Jason Doyle the world championship because he's proven
Dudek might.
Possibly.
And didn't he ride? I mean,
to be fair to Patrick Dudek, he's got a lot of time on his side. Yeah. So
and didn't he ride well?
He did ride well. He's been waiting for that first Grand Prix win for all year, and he's got close to it on a number of occasions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's definitely, I think he's definitely a rider who's going to be pushing to win it at some point in the next few years.
You would think so, with that sort of form. Yeah. But then we were saying exactly the same about Emil Safutinov when he first came on the scene.
Surprised me with Emil because he at one point he looked really, really good on Saturday and then faded in the last.
That's happened to him on a couple of GPs this year.
It's a tough field though, isn't it? Really?
That's that's true.
You know, so many riders. There's always. Over the years that you've had the GP, there's always been maybe 2 or 3 riders in the field who I don't really think should be there, to be honest. You wonder why they're there, because they're not really going to be able to push for it. But you look at all the riders in the field this season, they're all capable of winning a Grand Prix, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, how many Grand Prix winners have we had this year now?
I think it's 6, 7.
It's probably the most, isn't it? I think it's got to be close to the most actual separate Grand Prix.
I think
winners.
the most was about 9. I think that was 2003.
Right.
So, but it's a tough. It's been a tough field this year. I think it's lived up to a lot of the the expectation, the series.
It's going to be tough next year, isn't it, for the guys that are doing, whoever does the picks?
Yeah.
Because there's 2 picks available. You've got Greg Hancock is going to need a pick. You've got Nicky Pedersen is going to need a pick, and has stated he wants to be back. There's a few more in there as well. Which
I think if Greg Hancock wants to be in the Grand Prix, I think it'd be churlish to overlook his record. Really, even with his age, I think he's still 47.
47. Yeah.
So he'll. Nicky, not so sure. I think Nicky's time's gone now. At that level, he hasn't got that sort of fear factor that he had 10 years ago. Obviously, we're going to have another British rider in Craig Cook in the GPs next year.
Yeah, we should mention that. Yeah, well done, Craig Cook. That's going to be an interesting learning curve for him, I think.
He's going to find it tough, I think.
Yeah. Because the good thing about Craig Cook is he can gate.
He can gate, which is a good.
As Greg Hancock's proven over the years, that's almost half the battle. But, it's going to be interesting to see who gets those picks. When I don't even know when they have to make the decision.
I think it's beginning of November. I think they make them. So
will Freddie Lindgren be able to?
Well, he'll be in the top 8 anyway. So
but will he be fit?
Well, that's the other. I think we'll probably know about that more in the new year. Probably make a decision then. So.
Right, well, I'm going to start talking a little bit about looking forward, what we might possibly be expecting at Birmingham next year. Tomo's gives a question for you. How many riders rode at reserve for the Brummies in 2015? I can name 13 so far. I'm going to bow to you because I couldn't even possibly think.
It seems so long ago.
What, the beginning, 2015. Yeah. I tell you what, Tom, I'd do us a favour and put them up. That'd be fun.
Yeah, be interesting.
Gets included.
Gets included. Yeah. Well, if you remember, we lost. Adam. No, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, put them up.
Yeah, so put them up. Yeah, so we did have a few. Of course, that's how we first got hold of Jack Smith and JPB. So,
shall we talk about Mr. Anthony Mole?
We could talk about Mr. Anthony Mole, yes. I mean, what to say? The man's a legend. He's a hero. And we've got those pictures on the wall of the Brummie legends. I think that it would actually be fitting for his.
I think so. It'd be a good
picture to be on there now.
Absolutely, because he played a massive part in getting the Brummies back in 2007,
as did your dad as well.
Absolutely, and then obviously rescuing them in 2015 after the disaster,
and coming back after the Gary Patchett.
Yeah.
Well, refusing really to sell to Gary Patchett, I think was the thing there. But also, I don't know whether you read the Speedway Star this week. It documents all the clubs that he's been involved in, including Kings Lynn. I hadn't realised he'd been involved in Kings Lynn. Wolverhampton, of course.
Personally, I was a little bit disappointed with the timing of the Knockout Cup second leg semi-final, because it would have been nice to have seen a few more Wolves fans there. Because, of course, if it hadn't been for Tony, I know obviously Chris Van Straten was partial to the deal as well, but obviously Tony went in with him, and obviously I'm sure Chris would admit himself he wouldn't have been able to do 31 years as promoter at Wolves had it not been for Tony Mole backing him up. I mean, Tony was never a major player at Monmouth Green. He was always very much in the background.
But that's Tony's style anyway. He's always in the background, isn't he? You never see him getting involved.
Unless, well, he may get involved if he has to, but he doesn't really.
Pays the bills.
Yeah, that's it. So.
And you can turn up at a Speedway match. That's totally nothing to do with the club that he's promoting. And that's Tony Mole on the terraces over there.
Well, I think he still goes to Stoke as well. Doesn't he?
He does still go to Stoke, and he came up, watched quite a few Brummies matches when he wasn't. You'd see him turn up on the terraces.
Yeah, you'll still see him at Perry Bar. I've got no doubt about that. Even if.
So I mean, it's like I said at the beginning, we're never going to see his like again, and which is a bit of a worry for Speedway, because there's no daddy there to say, oh come on, let's get you going again. And
well, the last of that brand really now is probably Len Silver. It was good to see Len there last night. Obviously,
yes.
So
yeah, well, absolutely.
I mean, the one thing that obviously, I mean, the jury's made a point of staying in the background because
they did.
It was Tony Miles, but of course we shouldn't forget that it was there.
Well, that says a lot about them as well. Just
Yeah.
the fact that they did that says a tremendous amount about Graham and Denise.
How do you think Graham Drury will be remembered at Peribore? The reason I ask is a few weeks ago I was talking to somebody and he felt that his one disappointment that he had with Graham Drury was that he didn't feel he did enough to bring young riders through. Which seems a bit of a churlish thing to say, given the success in the National League,
which he's definitely done that.
Yeah, I think what he was saying was, look, young riders in the local area not given enough opportunities to. Which is that really down to Graham Drury, to be honest? Or,
well, I don't think it is. But then then you find out things like Paul Stark.
Yeah.
Yesterday, given his chance to ride at Buxton because of Graham Drury.
Yeah.
So there are things that have gone on there that behind the scenes that he doesn't blow his own trumpet overly much on things like that.
No.
So I think we don't know half of what's going on, but I do sort of take the point. But I think his hands were tied very much with the situation when we were in the Premier League,
and certainly in the Elite League as well.
He did try doing the Birmingham Bulls for a while, if you remember, which is when Paul Stark first came on the scene, of course.
I know there was a little bit of a mixed reaction when it was announced that Graham was coming back when Tony Mole took the club back in 2015. Because I think there was a few people that felt a little bit let down by the way that the juries had left, but to be honest, I think they knew what was going on upstairs.
They knew what was going on, and also
when you read the Brummies programme last night, Graham Drury did say, him and Denise could see what was going to happen in 2014, and they didn't want to have to be part of it, which was understandable. They said it was a hell of a wrench to go, but they knew what was coming, and they just wanted to. They didn't want the face of the heartbreak of having to go through it.
What's their reputation as well?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
All I can say is that they've been brilliant when they come back and they've produced two championship winning sides, and that last season's wasn't. But you look at the injuries that we had to put up with, and the departures, and it was a difficult season. Always was going to be a difficult season anyway, given the team that went on before. So.
And still on the Brummies, don't forget the awards night, which is on the Saturday the 4th of November at the Rise Social Club, Perrywood Road, Great Bar, 7 p.m. till 8. Tickets £18.50 each. This is a ticket-only event, and sales will close on Saturday 21st of October. Don't miss out. Book now.
Last chance to say ta-ra to Graham.
Yeah.
And Denise.
And
Tony, of course.
Yeah.
So,
who'd be your Brummies Rider of the Year? Because that's obviously the last show of the season. So.
Yeah, my Brummies Rider of the Year would be Liam Carr.
I think he'll probably get the pick him up from most people, won't he? So.
Yeah, I think Liam Carr would do that for me.
I think Daniel Hume would have been a shoe-in for it if he hadn't had his injury, because I think he was set for a really good season.
Yeah, I think he was as well. So we should look at who we're going to have riding for us. Do we think we've got the basis of a very, very good team? JPB's already stated he wants to come back.
As has Daniel Hume.
As has Daniel Hume. As has Tom Bacon. Can we fit all three of those into the team? That is the. I mean, Tom Bacon's going to be on a falsely low average, I think, and Daniel Hume will be on a falsely low average. I would like to have Taylor Hampshire back.
Yep. Because
he's not going to be a 3-point rider for much longer. He's on 3 point something or other on his average. I think that, I mean, Liam Carr, how do you fit Liam Carr in with that? I mean, love to have Liam Carr back, but I think he'll be...
I think he'll be in the championship.
In the championship next year.
How about a best rider from all divisions?
Well, I think that's easy, actually.
Go on then.
Dan Bewley.
From all divisions?
Yeah, I think so.
I I think he's
Yeah, but there were definitely signs of they were even doing it last season, but he's really stepped up a notch this year, hasn't he?
And what if you had to pick one from each individual division?
Well, I'd leave the top division to you.
I suppose technically you'd have to say Jason Dole because he finished top of the averages, but I would probably say Dan Bewley for the Premiership because he's made a lot of progress.
And for the Championship, I'd say Dan Bewley.
Mm-hmm.
And for the National League,
I'd say Dan Bewley.
Dan Bewley. So it's
a clean sweep. Well done, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. You win our award. I've got it down here.
Yeah. I thought that's where you had that magazine. I
want to know what you're doing under my desk.
I think he's a bit young for that, isn't he?
Yeah, just a bit.
Oh well, sorry about not getting David.
Shall we try him one last
time?
I'll
try him one more time.
Try him one last time.
Okay.
Have you actually got the right number? Or you can.
You haven't been going the right number, have you?
Yeah, I've got the right number. Don't worry.
Okay. Because that's it. Just if you want to make sure.
I haven't been phoning those pornos.
No, careful.
I think a bit of a mixed reaction to the decision that David Mason's made to stay in the National League next season.
Yeah, well, I can understand why he would want to do that.
Yeah,
being brand new to that side of the sport.
I think a more experienced promoter may would have taken the plunge and moved the Rummies up.
Yeah, I think we need to go up. But I can understand why. So, okay, it is a disappointment, but it's Speedway. The alternative is no Speedway.
That's right.
So, I think he needs to really put a good team together. I think we need to win the thing.
I think the National League's a good learning base for a new promoter, to be fair, because it's still going to be a cost, but it's not going to be a massive cost.
But my theory on that also is that one of the things that's taken the shine off the National League for us is I can remember the excitement in 2015 when this young 16-year-old turned up and started beating everybody, and he hadn't signed to any clubs, so he's going to be ours.
Yeah,
this was the rider. This is a rider that we're going to watch from 16-year-old, and and that was really exciting. It was like Andy Graham all over again.
Yeah,
obviously talking about Zach Vitanek. And then it turns out that we're not allowed to have assets all of a sudden. And I think that has really, really taken the shine off.
That's something that's got to be looked
League.
at. There's got to be something that's got to be looked at for National League. So,
I think if we can, it makes it so much more difficult. I mean, I was talking to somebody from Kent about this. They're a team that could possibly think about moving up, and I know a lot of their supporters want to. But they haven't got any assets.
Yeah,
that makes it really very difficult, and a very expensive business to move up. We're going to be in the same position if we can't have assets and take some of them with us.
Yeah.
If we'd had Zach Vitanek had been, I'm convinced that if Zach Vitanek had been our asset and a few of the other ones that have been around, JPB, Jack Smith.
Yeah.
We probably have been in the Premier League, the Championship this year, and I'm not convinced that Tony Mole might have stayed a little bit longer as well. I think that knocked the stuffing out of him a little bit as well. So it's something that needs to be addressed, and it's going to make it difficult for us and for other National League teams to make that jump into what is effectively a much higher level championship than the Premiership was, I think, because they've tried to bring those two top divisions closer together. So that makes it tougher. So and they need to, as you say, they need to address that, and I hope they do.
That's it. So.
Right. Well, I'm really, really, really disappointed we haven't been able to.
I'm quite disappointed. Yeah. Oh well, something must have happened. We can't.
Yeah, I will see what I can find out, and we'll let you know what's happened on that score. And what we will try and do, okay, so is that we've got the AGM coming up. Now, so today's going to be the last Speedway Tavern of the season.
Yeah.
What we sometimes do is, if we feel it's newsworthy enough to do it, is that after the AGM we'll come back for a special one-off.
Yeah, we do a one-off.
And talk about the AGM.
Yep.
So what I will do is I will try and get in touch with David before the AGM, and he can come on the show. We'll do that show, and he can come on and explain to us about what he knows about the AGM and so on. And we'll get all your questions to him as well. So apologies for that.
Can I just say that tonight ends our 7th season?
Does it really?
Yeah.
7th season. Well, for you two, not for me, but
in various guises, may I say. But,
yeah, we started off as I can't remember.
Shouting in a room.
Yeah, we were shouting
in a room. Actually, we were just shouting at each other, weren't we?
Yeah.
Well, nothing's changed there, though, is it? So.
Nothing's changed. No. Yeah, no. Seven seasons.
What number of seasons is for you, Joe?
You mean watching Speedway?
Yeah.
Oh God, I started in 73, I think. Might have been 72. You work that one out because I can't. Obviously, there's 21 years in the middle that I never watched any Speedway apart from what I saw on the television, which is a shame.
Yeah, well, this one's my 28th. This last one gone,
Wow.
so I'm closing in on.
You don't look that young. That old.
I know, yeah. I've enjoyed watching it for any of that time, but not at Wolves anyway. So.
I've asked your riders of the season, and Graham Darlington says, why not go through the season? I don't know in what format it means.
Okay, well, all I can do is, it's not a bad idea. So, the season started full of hope, but I don't think anybody thought that it would. That, I mean,
I think it depends on what team he's talking about. Sure.
Well, there is that. I mean, well, I think Wolverhampton and Birmingham, both from fans' point of view, it was similar. It looked okay, but weren't sure it was going to do anything.
Clearly at Wolves, there was the team at the start of the season wouldn't have been strong enough to get in the playoffs. I think it was don't get me wrong. Adam Skornicki's been a fabulous servant for Wolves, but
we should mention him last night. He looked well. He did ride well.
Yeah, he looked strange without his long hair, didn't he? But and obviously we had none at the donut as well, which was good to see. Yeah. I mean, Adam's a great fella and has been a great servant, not just to Wolves, but to British Speedway as well.
Make a good captain in the championship.
I think he would make a good captain, but I think at the top level, I think his times. I mean, he has hinted as well that might well have been his last appearance on a British track, which would be sad. But obviously, I think CVS and Peter Adams realised quite quickly that they'd made that it wasn't going to work. We had to act quickly, so we acted quickly. We brought Rory Schlein in. Max Clegg obviously left as well and was replaced by Mark Riss. But I think it's a season where I think on paper we look the strongest team in the league, but just too many injuries and at the wrong time. And of course, the last few weeks of the season, the side's been completely decimated by injuries, and it was just. And we did really well to get as close as we did, to be honest. But
I think from Birmingham's point of view, I mean, there were just too many unknowns in that team.
Yeah.
Is it Lee Dicken?
Lee Dicken, yeah.
Getting injured before.
No, Keane Dicken, sorry.
Keane Dicken, that's it. Got injured before on press and practice day. I mean, that was just like you thought, uh-oh.
Here we go
again. Yeah, exactly. Hello.
Graham's riders of the season, Carl Howarth, Wolves, just ahead of Jacob and Freddie.
I agree with that, Graham. I think this time last year, Carl Howarth was struggling to win reserve races, and he's ridden in the traditionally very difficult number 2 position all year, and had a terrific season. Whether he'll be back at Wolves is another matter. I'd like to see him back because I think he's been a good servant for us.
I think the other unknown for Birmingham, I will say this, was Chris Hay, and
he sort of came and went, didn't he?
I mean, I think he thought, "Oh no, that's not going to." I think he just gave up basically, didn't he?
Yeah, which is a shame. I don't think he cracked that top bend at Perrybourne.
No,
did he? So
no, he didn't.
Did he complete a lap at Perrybourne? I don't know whether he did.
I'm not sure. We'll have to. Somebody out there better than me will tell us.
No one's mentioned the C word tonight, have they?
Yeah.
I did notice a few remarks from Cradley fans saying they thought last night was fixed.
Graham Drury did have one last little
yeah,
swap
he did.
at Cradley fans, didn't he? So.
That was fun as well.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Shake that man by the hand. So.
Yeah. The Speedway needs all of that.
Yeah.
Any sport needs all of that.
Yeah.
You know. So that was good.
But the Birmingham Cradley rivalry's been great, and obviously it doesn't look particularly good for Cradley, but hopefully a resolution can be found and they can take to the tapes again in 2018. Because I don't think it will be the same in the National League for Birmingham without Cradley
Absolutely not. Or Coventry.
Yeah.
No Cradley, no Coventry. That just leaves us to beat Stoke again. Well,
yeah.
That's easy. I'm sorry if there's any Stoke fans out there. and I'm sorry for... Yeah, I mean, we have been very Birmingham and Wolves-centric for obvious reasons this week. We do try to open it out a little bit more normally, but, yeah, obvious reasons why that happened this time. Kyle Roberts would be a good shout for Birmingham.
Yeah, I think so. He did well, didn't he?
Yeah, he showed promise anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think Carl Roberts and Taylor Hampshire reserve would be a good start in the National League for us. And I think it's that reserve berth that's so important, particularly at this level, because there are potentially easy points. Well, I'm looking at the time. It is just coming up to 9 o'clock. Can only apologise again for not being able to get hold of David Mason. We will chase him up and find out what's happening, and commitment to you, I will do my best to get him on the show for the AGM show. Good luck, everybody. If we don't hear from you before, have a good Christmas. And up the Brummies.
Scary, isn't it?
Up the wall. There we go. Take care, everybody.
Good night.
See you soon. Bye-bye.